One of the most iconic villains I had the privilege of growing up with was Mumm Ra, the Ever-Living, who was a formidable foe to the Thundercats. Over the years, we have seen Mumm Ra try all sorts of things to vanquish the Thundercats and get the Eye of Thundera, the mystical stone embedded in the hilt of the legendary Sword of Omens. As we get more Thundercats comics, many have given this unique villain new origin story. One of the truly engaging origin stories of Mumm Ra comes from writer Declan Shalvey and artists Roshan, Kurichiyanil, and Rapha, Lobosco in Mumm Ra the Ever-Living, a miniseries published by Dynamite Entertainment that serves as the second chapter in the iconic Thundercats x Silverhawks crossover event. We already have the second issue in this series that started in April 2026, so let's get started. What happened already? Before we get started on the second issue, let me quickly recall what happened in the first issue. We started our story in Egypt, where a slave named Ra Mrs. Mi Atumu was mistreated and beaten by other fellow slaves. The only friend he had was Enskirka, who was paid by Ramesses' masters to protect Ramesses. Despite being slaves, Ramesses enjoyed more privileges than Enskirka, as was evident from his robe. One day, while working in the mines, Enskirka found a glowing stone that he believed would free both him and Ramesses from their enslavement. He called Ramesses to the mines the next evening so that they could sneak the stone out in Ramesses' robes. When Ramesses arrived, however, he found Enskirka injured. Some slaves who Enskirka had beaten up to protect Ramesses had taken their revenge. By this time, the ancient spirits of evil had set their eyes on Ramesses and had begun whispering vile things in his ear. Their words made Ramesses doubt the friendship and loyalty of Enskirka. So, when he saw Enskirka bloody and wounded, instead of taking him to a healer, he demanded to see the treasure Enskirka was talking about. Enskirka told him that he would do so as soon as he was healed, but Ramesses doubted his intentions. He was so sure Enskirka would leave him in his wretched state that he killed him and then searched for the stone. As soon as he held the glowing red orb, etched with a snake whose tail is simply another head, in his hands, it opened a portal to Second Earth. The ancient spirits welcomed him and used their magic to transform him, letting the ugliness of his soul seep out and take over his entire body. The ancient spirits of evil and their soldier. The world that truly gave birth to Mumm Ra is Second Earth. This was the place where he transformed from his human self into a green-skinned, goblin-like creature with red eyes, pointy ears, sharp teeth, and spiky skin. As he took in his new form, he screamed at the ancient spirits, demanding to know what they did to him. The spirits told him that they gave him what he had rightfully earned. He was dead before now, but thanks to the spirits, he had a new life and the gift of the Ever-Living. The four spirits stood around a giant magical cauldron, their palms glowing with a red aura, and revealed their history. The four spirits used to live among humans as their gods, but the world soon began to bore them, as they did not think humans were capable enough to worship them. They fed on fear, but there was not enough fear in the world for them to be satiated. Despite being a world of hardship, they did not find what they needed. Ramesses got on his knees and asked the spirits what they needed. With their expressions never changing from sinister indifference, the spirits said they needed evil. People could be evil, but they could not be evil enough to sustain the spirits. So they left Earth for Second Earth and left behind a seed of evil designed to transport others like them to Second Earth. The orb was nurtured by the collective fear, spite, and jealousy of humans, and was activated through the touch of evil. Ramesses had unknowingly activated it, and it had brought him to Second Earth. It was now time for Ramesses to show them that their efforts had not been wasted. He had to master the dark magics to prove to the spirits that he was one of them. Ramesses was shocked to hear that, as he was just a human, but the spirits assured him that he was no longer a human. His new form could withstand the black fires that would destroy a human body. The real test was whether Ramesses was strong enough to master the power the spirits would provide. Without a single warning, the bull-like spirit shot him with a powerful blast of dark energy. As the power of the energy roared, Ramesses let out a startled and pained shout, but soon he gathered the magic in a simple sphere and held it between his palms. He cackled in glee for being able to control it, but that joy would not last for long. He could not master the energy any longer than a moment, and it exploded, knocking him clean off his feet. The spirits looked down on him and told him that he had failed them. Ramesses begged them for another chance as he was not prepared and promised to do better, but unfortunately for him, they said there were no second chances at evil. Evil was a pure act that was either within him or wasn't within him. The spirits had waited so long for the seed of evil to send someone, and when it delivered Ramesses to them, they acted too soon. They now regretted that. They asked Ramesses to get lost and ordered him not to ever cross their paths again. Ramesses was overcome by helplessness, as he could not believe they were so heartless that they brought him here, transformed him, and now deserted him. He asked them what he was supposed to do, but the spirits bid farewell as it was not their concern. They are the spirits of evil after all. A lot of time passed on Second Earth, and Ramesses could not tell exactly how much, as there was no sun or moon on Second Earth. It was a planet of perpetual darkness. Though his life had changed drastically, his home snatched from beneath his feet, and his body no longer recognizable, one thing remained the same. Ramesses was as bitter as he was before, and he was absolutely sure that that bitterness would always sustain him. Ramesses began meditating as he truly believed that there was always another chance at evil. In fact, there were infinite opportunities to be evil, and that is what made it so unique. Ramesses figured that the old and tired ancient spirits had forgotten this fact of life, that revenge was a dish best served cold. The colder the revenge, the more one could savor its taste. Ramesses mastered what he could, and one day drew the snake sigil on the mud next to where he meditated. He held his arms up to the sky as the sigil glowed, and he used his newly acquired magic to siphon the power from the spirits. The very power that the spirits denied him flowed through his body, and his eyes lit up. He had only stolen a morsel from the spirits, but it gave him so much strength that he yearned for more. Getting more power from the spirits was not going to be an easy task. He was aware that he needed help. Using his powers, he brought back his old friend Enskirka. Enskirka felt around his body, unsure and confused, and Ramesses rushed towards him to assure him that his body would adjust to the harsh world soon. But Enskirka was not happy to see him. He remembered that Ramesses was the one who killed him and lunged at him to get his revenge. The four spirits convened at their cauldron, unaware of the monster they had created. Moments later, Ramesses arrived, pulling Enskirka bound tightly in bandages like a mummy. The spirits were enraged that Ramesses dared to disobey their order, but he told them not to worry as it was a short meeting. He asked them to accept his humble offering and threw Enskirka into the cauldron. Before the fire consumed him, Enskirka screamed out for Ramesses to be cursed. Knowing that the spirits had turned their backs on him, Ramesses called on the dark magics to reveal his true enemy. The flames in the cauldron erupted towards the sky, and in the tall flames, Ramesses saw the Thundercats and his future self he probably did not recognize, Mumm Ra. As the flames died, the spirits realized that Ramesses had accessed their powers and rushed to stop him. But that wasn't an easy task, as Ramesses siphoned more energy off of them. As the powers ran through his veins, Ramesses transformed into a giant with hulking muscles. He declared that he would now be called Mumm Ra. With great confidence, he announced that he was unstoppable. The spirits, however, disagreed. They knew he was not as strong as he believed he was, and called him a leech before reclaiming their energy. As the powers left his body, Ramesses whined that they could not take his powers from him, but it was never his to begin with. A thief cannot be disappointed when the owner reclaims his thing. Ramesses looked more pathetic than before, but he believed he was only now realizing his potential. Despite his hope, his skin sagged and wrinkled as his body was suddenly devoid of muscle. The spirits told him that what he is now is a result of betraying his gods, but they were going to give him a gift. At the possibility of a gift, Mumm Ra perked up, but the gods had only been toying with him. They bestowed on him the curse of the ever-living and banished him out of Second Earth. They told him that he was never to set foot on their planet again, and reminded him that he was lucky to have left with his life intact. Darkness fell over his eye. Mumm Ra, or Ramesses, had been abandoned once again. Suddenly, he heard a voice asking him whether he needed any help. As he opened his eyes, Mumm Ra saw a giant stone mural of a cat. He slowly sat up, pushing himself up on the snow-laden ground, and asked the stranger behind him where he was. The stranger replied that it was the land of the Thunderans, and that he was talking to Jaga, the Lord of the Thundercats. The narrator kindly lets us know that here in Thundera, is where Mumm Ra will find the one thing that he actually needs, a friend. I absolutely loved this issue. The story of Mumm Ra perfectly captures what we know about him. He is a bitter individual full of resentment of not being able to release his complete potential. He truly believed that if he wasn't qualified to be a fellow ancient spirit of evil, no one was. He was also incredibly resilient. Nothing could deter him from taking the path that he wanted to, and he stayed on course despite any obstacle. No one in their right mind would think of challenging the ancient spirits of evil themselves, but Mumm Ra did it anyway, and almost took them down. You gotta be impressed by the guy. The ending has me on tenterhooks. What did the narrator mean by a friend? Is Jaga going to be Mumm Ra's friend? Is Mumm Ra going to betray him just like he did with Enskirka? Only time will tell. While you wait for the next issue to drop, why don't you click on that thumbs up, the subscribe button, and the bell icon to always stay up to date with our awesome content. We will soon be back with more mind-blowing stories, but until then, ciao!